What's up, y'all? It's your girl Brandy from Stay Snatched, and today we're making a creamy seafood mac and cheese. Stay tuned because you don't want to miss this one. It's so epic, y'all. We are in the kitchen today making seafood mac and cheese. And unless you're new around here, then you already know mac and cheese is one of my specialties. I recently dropped a recipe for a lobster mac and cheese, but not everybody wants to make lobster. And so you can also make seafood. So I'm going to use shrimp and crab in this recipe. You can use whatever type of seafood you like. You can even take this recipe and apply it to some lobster because I did switch up the recipe just a little bit. So it's a little different than my lobster mac and cheese recipe. You can also add scallops, you can add mussels, whatever you like. Throw it in this dish. You will absolutely love it. So as I mentioned, I have some shrimp here. So this is raw shrimp. It's already been peeled and deveined. To get it into the mac and cheese, I am gonna slice it up into smaller chunks. You can keep it in its normal form and dump it in the mac and cheese if you like, but I just think it's gonna be a lot easier to eat it if it's in chunks and along with the chunks of crab as well. And so don't use pre-cooked shrimp, use raw shrimp. It only takes a few minutes to cook on the stove, and then we're gonna add it to the mac and cheese. If you use fully cooked shrimp and then get it in the oven for like 30 minutes, it's going to be all rubbery. It is not going to taste good. So definitely grab some raw shrimp. I love to buy it already deveined, but if you have shrimp that isn't deveined, be sure to slice the top and remove that little stringy substance out of there. Yes, that is shrimp poop. So you don't want that all up in your shrimps. So definitely either buy it deveined or be sure to devein it beforehand. And then I also have some crab meat here. I typically get this from Costco. This is an 8-ounce container here, and it's in the refrigerated aisle, so that's worth noting as well. But at Costco, you can get a 16-ounce container. It's only like $22, and it's the jumbo lump crab. But they were out of it. I went on a Sunday. Don't ask. I should not have gone to Costco on a Sunday. They were completely out of crab, so I had to just go to a regular grocery store, and they still had the exact same brand. This is Chicken of the Sea. It says premium real crab meat, and it's wild caught, which I always look for versus like farm raised seafood. But this is the claw. So this is going to be the claw meat instead of the other area of the crab. It's still wonderful, delicious. I've used it several times before. So just look for this. There's other canned crab that I've seen in the store. Sometimes it comes in water. And so if that's the case, if that's the type of crab you're buying, you will need to drain that off before you go ahead and use it in the recipe. And so let's talk about all of these cheeses here. I have several different mac and cheese recipes. All of them use a different combination of cheese. My most popular one is my Southern Soul Food baked mac and cheese recipe. It uses 5 different cheeses in that recipe. You can use those same exact cheeses with this recipe as well, but I switched it up a little bit. So the big star of the show is cheddar. This is 2 cups of shredded cheddar cheese. And let me start off my rant. Let me grab my props. Before I drop my props. Let me grab my props and start my rant off. Buy block cheese, or in this case, it was like a triangle shape. This is the Parmesan Reggiano cheese. Buy block cheese and shred it, grate it yourself. For a few different reasons. And so the first reason is that pre-shredded cheese is coated in potato starch because the manufacturers want it to maintain its freshness and stuff like that. So getting it from their facility to the store into your refrigerator requires some freshness. So they coat it in there kind of as a preservative. That makes it a little cakey. It gets hard. It does not melt as well as if you use actual cheese that isn't coated in all that extra stuff. And you just also make sure that you're eating real cheese. A lot of people will make mac and cheese with Velveeta, which is not real cheese. It is a milk product. It will tell you that right on the packaging. So I will never recommend you use Velveeta cheese. I like the real deal thing. So this is 2 cups of shredded cheddar here. And then I switched it up and I'm adding some mozzarella. This is 1 cup of shredded mozzarella cheese because I want a nice cheese pull. And so if you're ever looking to get a nice cheese pull in a recipe, and what I mean by pull is when you go to lift up your spoon or your fork, there's a little bit of give there, then mozzarella is your friend and that's what you want to use. And then for immense flavor, I got my Parmesan Reggiano cheese. I think I use this in every single mac and cheese recipe that I have. This is a 1/2 cup. And so a lot of times it can be very strenuous shredding up all of that cheese. If you have just a regular grater, if you have a food processor, dump these cheeses in that food processor and it will save you a ton of time. So let's walk through how we're going to whip up this mac and cheese. The first step is to cook the seafood. So I need to cook this raw shrimp and I'm going to season this shrimp in some Old Bay seasoning, which pairs wonderfully with crab. I can't eat crab meat without my Old Bay. And so I've got some Old Bay in here, some salt and pepper, and then I have an optional ingredient for y'all and it's Cajun seasoning. Cajuning just pairs so well with seafood. I have a Cajun shrimp pasta recipe on my site. Super popular, super amazing. It's so decadent and rich, and it will just give just a little kick to this mac and cheese. So that's optional. Y'all know I'm gonna put it in there, but you don't have to. And so we're gonna season up this shrimp along with some butter. So this is 5 tablespoons of butter. 4 tablespoons is going to be for our mac and cheese cream sauce, but 1 tablespoon is going to go in to cook up this shrimp and crab. So we want our seafood to have a nice baseline of flavor before it even gets added to the mac and cheese. So 1 tablespoon of butter along with these seasonings. We're going to cook up the shrimp. Once the shrimp is cooked, then we add the crab. The crab doesn't need to be cooked all of that time, so I just add it in the end so that it gets coated in the seasoning and it gets a hit of that butter as well. And so from there, we make our cream sauce. And our cream sauce, where's my flour? Here we go. My cream sauce starts with creating a roux. And to make a roux, you combine, this is flour, so you'll combine flour and this butter here and get it nice and stirred up in your pot. And then we're going to add in, this is 2 cups of milk, and then I have a cup of heavy cream. So then you add that in, and then I have just a little bit more seasoning. I have some onion powder and some salt and pepper in here. That gives our cream sauce flavor. And then we add in half of the cheeses. And I got another remix for y'all. I want this mac and cheese super, super creamy. And so I've got 4 ounces of cream cheese here. So we're gonna add this cream cheese and then half of all of these shredded cheeses. So that's gonna be 1 cup of cheddar, 1/2 cup of mozzarella, and a 1/4 cup of the Parmesan Reggiano. Then we get that all nice and thick. We cook up our pasta. So to make mac and cheese, a lot of people use elbows. You can really use whatever you like. I love this corkscrew pasta, so I often go back and forth between elbows and the corkscrew pasta. So once your pasta is cooked, we add that cream sauce, we add all of our cooked seafood, and then we hit it with another layer of this shredded cheese, y'all. It's gonna be so, so good. So I've told y'all all about the recipe. Let's get to baking this bad boy. So first I have 1 pound of pasta. I've got some boiling water here. I'm just gonna cook it in accordance with the instructions on the package. Then I have 1 tablespoon of butter. I'm melting it in a skillet on medium-high heat, and I'm adding in 1 pound of raw shrimp. This has already been sliced up into smaller chunks. And then I have a teaspoon of Old Bay seasoning, a teaspoon of Creole seasoning, and some salt and pepper to taste. I'm gonna go ahead and cook these. Only cook these for a few minutes. You don't wanna overcook them because you're gonna bake these again with the mac and cheese. Then I'm gonna add in 8 ounces of crab meat here. Just gonna stir to combine all of that flavor, and then I'm gonna remove it and set it aside so I can make the cream sauce. So here's 4 tablespoons of butter, and then I'm gonna add in 3 tablespoons of flour. And I like to add that in stages so that it doesn't cake up on me. So go ahead and give that a good stir. You just wanna combine those ingredients. So this is gonna create our roux and the base of the cream sauce. There you have it, no clumps when you add it in stages. I'm adding in 2 cups of milk. You can use any type of milk you like. 1 cup of heavy whipping cream. And this is 4 ounces of cream cheese. And then I have a teaspoon of onion powder and more salt and pepper to taste. And this is 1 cup of shredded sharp cheddar cheese, a 1/2 cup of mozzarella, and a 1/4 cup of Parmesan Reggiano. Then you want to stir until that starts to thicken. Don't worry about that cream cheese. It doesn't have to melt completely down because it'll melt in our pasta. So then go ahead and add your cream cheese to your macaroni. Give everything a nice good stir. Then we're gonna add in our cooked shrimp and crab. Leave that shrimp and crab in the butter sauce you cooked it in. It'll add so much more flavor. Then you will need a baking dish. I recommend a 9x13 or even an 8x8 dish. You're gonna load in your pasta and then start to layer in your remaining cheese. So you still have a cup of shredded cheddar cheese left, 1/2 cup of mozzarella, and a 1/4 cup of Parmesan Reggiano. So you're gonna layer this like a lasagna. And this is gonna pile up really high using the baking dish that I'm using. If yours does the same, be sure to put a sheet pan under it while you bake it in the oven. That will catch any excess dripping and oozing that comes out along the sides. You're gonna bake this in a 375-degree oven for 30 to 45 minutes. I like to do 35 to 40 minutes because I like a crispy top layer. So be sure to check that out while you're baking. And there you have it.